Hi, I'm Lisa Jackson with Carpe Diem Wellness, and I am here to talk to you today about digestion, the immune system, and how to optimize your health. Now it is more important than ever that we take back our health and we learn all the things that we can do to support optimal immunity. And the number one reason for going to seek medical attention is issues with the gastrointestinal tract, with gut issues, GI tract. So digestion is key to our immune system and optimizing our health. I'm not diagnosing, treating, or curing anyone. This is just hopefully to inspire, educate, and empower you to take back your health. I'm a retired registered nurse. I have worked both in healthcare as well as in the corporate world as in corporate business development and sales. I'm a certified health coach, certified also in functional diagnostic nutrition and functional medicine, and have certifications in yoga and meditation, and lots of tools to help you optimize your health. Today we're going to talk about number one, digestion. We're going to talk about the anatomy of the GI tract, the microbiome, what that is and why that's so important. Answer some questions about probiotics and prebiotics, fermented foods. We'll talk about GERD and acid reflux, eating hygiene, and the scoop on poop. It's interesting that during the first early news around COVID, everybody's worried about toilet paper for God knows why. We need some education on this. So most of us live in a stressful world. We are stressed, we are toxic, we're inflamed, we're infected, we're malnourished, we're unrested, and yet we want to thrive, we want to grow, we want to reproduce, we want to be thin, we want to feel well, we want to eat anything we want to eat, and we want to have great sex. But unfortunately, these things are not congruent. The body is always listening to us. And we're going to talk about how we can change this. Really, if we do three things consistently, your body can heal and repair from almost anything. I coach and help people from everything from fatigue or depression to autoimmune disease, cancers, mood disorders, etc. If we do three things, we maximize what your unique body needs as far as vitamins and minerals and the right amount for your unique body of antioxidants, protein, healthy fats. We minimize toxicity and inflammation and stress, and we prioritize self-care. So let's talk about digestion and the microbiome. It is so true. The father of medicine, Hippocrates, said years ago how all disease begins in the gut. And the more we study the microbiome, the more we study digestion, we see this as being true. What is the state of the union in the US? Number one, I don't think most people realize that we spend more money on healthcare, and yet we have some of the poorest outcomes and the worst statistics worldwide for health. Why is that? And what's particularly when it comes to digestion, over-the-counter medications for digestion is the third leading class of drugs sold in the United States. Over a third of us have annual episodes of indigestion, of digestive issues. Over 100 million Americans, and there are over 200 different over-the-counter remedies. These are palliative. These don't treat the root cause. These may help symptomatic relief. And you can just turn on the TV and see the ads. Eat this, take that. You know, take this medication and you can enjoy anything you want. And then the most general practice visits are for digestive problems. And we're seeing this epidemic growth in irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, irritable bowel disease, colitis, GERD, a fancy word for indigestion, really gastric esophageal reflux disease. And I've seen in younger clients more serious diagnoses of esophagitis and even precursors to esophageal cancer. We have so many out of control food sensitivities, diarrhea, constipation. Even though these are common, it doesn't mean they're normal, and it doesn't mean we have to live with it. What are the consequences? They turn into autoimmune disease. All autoimmune disease starts with intestinal permeability and issues in the gut. And then other diagnoses that seem far unrelated: eczema, psoriasis, acne, any skin issues, fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, arthritis, cancer, depression, asthma, allergies, poor immune function, being sick, chronically ill. These all point to poor digestion. Why is this? 60 to 80% of our immune system is in the gastrointestinal tract. It is the border there to help say, are you friend or foe? It's the first line of defense to protect the inside of you, your body, from the environment. It surveys what's coming in, and it will neutralize the pathogens. It also breaks down your food to provide the much needed nutrients for your body to run. It's the fuel. The quality of your digestion is the quality of the fuel that you're giving your body. And if your gut is suboptimal, there is no way you can be healthy. So what are some of the basics? The digestive system starts with the mouth. It goes from the esophagus, the stomach, the pancreas, the small and large intestines, the liver, the gallbladder, and ending up in the rectum. The mouth is where digestion starts. Do you have tooth decay? You know, the bacteria in the mouth end up in the bacteria in the gut and the stomach. The esophagus is just the pipe that takes our food down, but it needs to be smooth with good mucous membranes. The stomach should be extremely acidic to break down our food and to stimulate the pancreas to secrete pancreatic enzymes that we need to digest our food. The liver is a filter for all of our food. The liver is what creates bile that's stored in the gallbladder, which helps further digest and break down your food. And then it travels through the small and large intestines for further breakdown of the nutrients. And only proteins, carbs, and glucose should get through the intestinal barrier, and everything else is excreted through the rectum as garbage, so that we're getting only what we need and sending the garbage. But when we have gut issues, this doesn't happen. So here's some more facts. The GI tract is 22 to 30 feet long, and the transit time from the first of food is a day and a half to 2 days, 18 hours to 48 hours. You need a good mucus to protect that lining all the way through. We need to make sure that that is healthy and intact. We need enzymes, as I briefly mentioned. We have a big absorptive area that needs to be uninflamed. And then we have these messengers, these hormones in our GI tract that tells the organs to start working, and they signal whether we're hungry or we're full. And they do so many more things. And they have a direct connection from the gut to the brain. In fact, we think the gut is actually the first brain. So what is a microbiome? This was not even taught in medical school. It's still not really taught in medical school. It's really only been in the last decade that medical science and researchers have discovered how important and how powerful the microbiome is. 100 years ago, we thought that all germs were bad, and we came up with antibiotics that saved lives. And that was the world of the fear of bugs and microbiome. But what do we know about the microbiome? It needs to be healthy and strong. These are the bugs in the gut to protect us. A strong gut is key to the coronavirus prevention. The gut directly relates to immunity, especially at the at-risk groups. Let's not panic. Let's not fear. This presentation is going to give you some good pointers on how you can strengthen this immune system. We can't, the war on drugs wasn't very effective, the war on cancer, the war on the microbiome. We cannot create war in our family. We have to learn to live symbiotically. We need healthy bacteria to protect us against the autoimmune disease, to protect that gut lining. And it's important to listen to our gut instinct, our gut feelings. Those nerves in the gut, they're there for a reason. They are far more powerful. So what is a microbiome? It is the microorganisms. It's the bacteria that live in your body. It lives not only in the gastrointestinal tract, but the skin, the nose, the genitals. There are 3 to 10 times as many cells, microbiome bacteria, in and around our body as there are cells in the body. Isn't that interesting? There are 10 times more microbiome that we need for digestion, for to make our vitamins, to modulate our cholesterol, to keep us healthy than there are cells in the body. And their DNA is more complex, 100 to 1,000 times more DNA than the human body. We need to really understand and pay attention to these microbiomes. So every bodily surface hosts a myriad of microorganisms, 1 trillion resident bacteria. We need healthy prebiotics and probiotics on your skin. I've got skincare that I really love to use and I recommend that is full of healthy pre and probiotics. These are our friends when they're in the right balance. When we are kill off all of our too many bacteria, we're also killing the healthy bacteria. And then we get these super infections that we don't know what to deal with, like MRSA. So the gut microbiome is the ecosystem. It's the environment in the digestive tract from the mouth all the way down to the anus. It's full of bacteria and viruses and fungi, and they all have different jobs to do. They communicate with each other. They make our B vitamins. They're enzymes to break down our food. They make our neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin. If we don't have a good microbiome, we're going to be depressed. We're going to be anxious. We're not going to be able to sleep. These are vital. It's this defense against our pathogens, the pathogenic bacteria. We have healthy bacteria and we have potentially pathogenic bacteria. These are all living viruses. They are alive. Where do we get this microbiome? It's most of the bacteria is in the large intestine, and that's why if we do comprehensive stool tests, we can get a good picture and see what does yours look like? What are you missing? What do you need more of? We've identified 300 to 500 varieties, and we're learning more every year. How do we get our first microbiome? We get it from the birth canal. The fetus in the utero are sterile. They get their first protective bacteria from going through the mother's birth canal. Unfortunately, we're doing more and more cesareans, and the babies are not getting that inoculation. And that may be why we're seeing more GI problems and more autoimmune issues each generation that I've witnessed in my lifetime. So we've been able to identify the good and bad bacteria. Bacteria that protects the mucosal lining, that again makes our B vitamins, helps make our neurotransmitters, that modulate our cholesterol. And then an overgrowth of bad bacteria that is directly related to what we're feeding our bacteria as well as our diet and our lifestyle that can create actually holes in the lining of the GI tract and leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And then our undigested food, our waste, our viruses, the potentially pathogenic bacteria can enter into the bloodstream. And this is the root cause of as I said, allergies, the autoimmune response, and often a lot of dis-ease, everything from headaches, migraines, to systemic inflammation, hypertension, a myriad of issues. And then there's commensal organisms, organisms that, like E. coli, it can be, certain strains can be beneficial or not. Yeast overgrowth is very common due to the high sugar and alcohol that we're consuming in our diets. It can feed it. It's also, Candida can feed off of mold and heavy metals. It loves sugar and refined carbs. And how do you know you might have it? You might think about it. A lot of bloating, gas, indigestion, yeast infections, nail fungus, sugar cravings. The bugs in the gut are screaming for you to feed me more sugar. Intense sugar cravings, mood swings, fatigue. If you have dandruff, that's a sign of, and often psoriasis, of Candida. Urinary tract infections, vaginal infections, itchy ears, itchy rectum. These are all signs of can be signs of an overgrowth of Candida. There are other pathogens that we can test for in a comprehensive stool test. H. pylori is one that can actually burrow into the stomach and even the bile duct, that can lead to ulcers or even stomach cancer. So what damages the microbiome? What makes us susceptible to this disease? The standard American diet. It is genetically modified organisms can cause inflammation in the gut. We're spraying our produce with Roundup and pesticides and herbicides that can damage its gut lining. Many medications, especially the over-the-counter medications, aspirin, Motrin, antibiotics can just wipe out the healthy microbiome that are there to protect this lining. Oral birth control pills are a major cause. And again, caffeine, alcohol, too much stress, too much anxiety, insufficient sleep, just having a C-section, as we mentioned before, and not breastfeeding. We get our healthy microbiome from the breast milk. And then the myriad of toxins that are never tested together, as we are, the US has allowed more toxins than anywhere else in the world to be put in everything from cosmetics, skincare products, what we're cleaning our homes with, to the air, the water, and the food we're eating. This was a study done around the world with what people are eating, and this is a picture here of the standard American diet. Mostly packaged food, food that if you put in the landfill, the bugs might not even eat. They're chemicals, they're food-like substances, highly processed, very poor nutrition. Lots of soda, sports drinks, flavored coffee beverages, no nutrition, very poor nutrition, high in sugar and empty calories. Also the oxidized fats, hydrogenated vegetable oils, GMO oils. These damage the cellular membrane so that we can't get the nutrients into the cell or the chemicals out of the cell or the waste products out of the cell. So the mitochondria, the power plants in our cells, cellular energy, are damaged, and we wonder why we have chronic fatigue. Probiotics. What are probiotics? It means pro-life. They are the opposite of antibiotics. Antibiotics are actually a type of probiotic. Actually, they're bacteria that can either are life-affirming and can build up this GI tract or can wipe it out. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria. They help rebalance the microbiome, especially because we're getting antibiotics not just routinely given for every ill, but it's in our, we're feeding the animals, the milk products, the dairy, the conventional raised animals are treated with high doses of antibiotics because of the frequent infections of the way we are doing our factory farming. So just taking probiotics can help counteract that. It can rebalance the microbiome. It can improve the immune function. And so you're seeing now it's being added to many foods and sources and supplements. How do you know what kind of probiotic to get? Again, I like to test and look at what your unique body may need. There's trillions of good probiotics in fermented foods. Before refrigeration, we didn't survive the winter without fermenting our vegetables and having lots of fermented foods. And every culture has their own fermented foods. In Japan, one of the healthiest outcomes in the world, there's miso, fermented soybeans, natto, tempeh, pickled ginger, and a little bit is served almost daily. In Korea, there's kimchi. If you've done my Kickstart to Wellness program, you can see how you can make your own kimchi or sauerkraut in Europe. Kvass, kefir, they're fermented milks, raw fermented cheese, sour creams, yogurts, and they can be nut milks as well as dairy. Every culture has them, and they're used as condiments, and this is how we help strengthen our immune system. When we buy our fermented foods, you want to buy them in the refrigerated because they are alive, or make sure that it's just that they are fermented naturally, that like sauerkraut, it's salt and water and cabbage, and that they're allowed to ferment themselves naturally before bottling, not just thrown vinegar in them. When we pasteurize our cheese, we kill the enzymes and therefore the health benefits. And often our conventional foods are pasteurized and then they add live cultures back in. So it has some probiotics, but they're limited. There's so many varieties of fermented foods. Here's just a picture of a few. Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics, the microbiome. They all need to eat too. So it's interesting that these foods that we have listed over here, artichokes, onions, garlic, dandelions, asparagus, leeks, these are all also what I have in one of my handouts for their hormone balancing. Why? Because our hormones, we need to be able to detoxify our hormones in our food, and we need a healthy gut to do this. And so what's good for the gut is also good for our hormones. Healthy fats that we see with flaxseed, lots of high antioxidants, legumes, great source of protein, and we can feed the world with legumes. They're high in fiber and resistant to starches. This is important because fiber acts as a broom to sweep and keep that healthy GI tract smooth. So we're not only eating for ourselves, we are eating for the microbiome within us. So how do we feed it? We have high fiber foods. We have, with our processed foods, we've taken all the fiber out. We've taken all the nutrition out. Food, if it's made in a plant, avoid it. If it's a plant, eat it. Whole grains, legumes, fermented foods, as we said, resistant starches, and diversity is the key. Don't eat the same food every day. Eat the color of the rainbows. And then avoid sugar, refined processed foods, chemicals, industrial fats, artificial sweeteners. If it's in a box and it's made to last for a long time that the bugs won't eat it, well, it's not going to feed our microbiome, and it's not going to feed you very well either. Leaky gut. This is something that even conventional medicine is having to acknowledge today. There's no more debate as to whether this is a thing or not. There's about 11,000 mentions in PubMed, a scientific publications of medical studies. And what it talks about is the lining of the small intestine, where we're supposed to have the villi that protect us. And only it's supposed to be a very thin juncture here. We're supposed to have tight junctures so that only small molecules can reach through it. But instead, we have undigested food. We have large proteins, undigested fats, et cetera, getting through into our bloodstream. And so what does it look like? Allergies, asthma, skin conditions, infections, fatigue, arthritis, hyperactivity in our children, joint dysfunction, anxiety, irritable bowel. So things that seem far distant from the gut, but really originate here in the gut. And then we get all these autoimmune disease. When I graduated from nursing school in 1980, there were like 5 common autoimmune diseases. Now there are over 100. What's happened? Our diet hasn't changed. Our environment has changed. What we've done to our food has changed. The amount of toxins have changed. And we can test and we can see what's going on in the microbiome. And if you want to prevent these diagnoses, or you've been diagnosed, or you have fear of these diagnoses, we can now address the root cause and help you stop the progression. And I've got a program right now called Vanishing Vitiligo, where I had vitiligo for 20 years, where the body's attacking the skin. Autoimmune is the body attacking itself. We can attack anything: the eyes, macular degeneration, the kidneys, the pancreas, type 1 diabetes. There's over 100 different types of diagnoses now that go back to this basic concept. And when I changed my diet and lifestyle and did my own testing, I was able to not only stop the progression of my vitiligo, but I could actually repigment my skin. And then when I've damaged my gut lining again, 10 years later, it's come back. So learned quite a lot about autoimmune diseases. Cardiovascular disease, that's another one that can be highly affected by autoimmune disease. So what contributes to it? Again, the same things: the standard American diet, the medications, the chronic stress, food allergies, alcohol. Too much alcohol damages that gut lining and interferes with our absorption of the vitamins, parasites, yeast, pathogenic bacteria, and we can test for all of these things. Hydrochloric acid and enzymes. The stomach needs to be very acidic, pH of 2. So if I dropped a bit of stomach acid on my wooden table, it would put a hole right through it. As we age, we lose that stomach acid. If we're in fight or flight, or we're in a stress response all the time, the body shuts down, secreting our own stomach acid. We need it to kill these pathogens and viruses, and we need it to break apart that protein that we're eating and to stimulate the pancreas to secrete the digestive enzymes. What are the signs of not enough stomach acid? Bloating, belching, flatulence, being full, being sick, not being able to eat much, only having a little bites of food, indigestion, or nausea after food or supplements, weak nails, splitting nails, ridges in your nails, acne, anemia. There's a list of probably 100 things that are correlated to not enough stomach digestion. If you see undigested food in your stool, that's a pretty good sign. If you've got a lot of dilated blood vessels in your cheeks or your nose, that can be another one. So mainstream medicine, conventional medicine, will treat this as too much stomach acid when you get reflux, when the pyloric sphincter between the esophagus and the stomach weakens, and you eat and the food backs up there. We know in functional medicine it's actually just the opposite, that it's usually the lack of hydrochloric acid, so everything backs up. You might have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth because there's not enough stomach acid to keep things moving downwards, so they start to move upwards. And there are things that weaken this sphincter and then causing the stomach to come up. So just because this is common doesn't mean it's normal, and it needs to be addressed. So what's conventional medicine has done for the last several decades, and it's given out like candy: proton pump inhibitors. They're prescribed, they're bought over the counter. The FDA only approves, if you read the data, the instructions that go right on it, only for 2 to 3 weeks use, but people are on it for decades. When I worked for the Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders, and everybody came in with iron deficiency anemia, the first thing I'd say is, are you on do you take Prilosec or Zantac or uniproton pump inhibitor. Well, yeah, how'd you know? Well, of course, you are creating your own deficiencies in B12, in zinc, iron deficiency, anemia, and minerals. And that's why it's tied to dementia, kidney disease, strokes. There's a difference in palliative, taking a pill for every symptom in an ill, and checking for the root cause and healing from within. So we know what exasperates it. Eating late at night, going to bed with a full stomach, of course, and not letting in the food coming back up. Caffeine, alcohol, chocolate, too much. Eating to fullness, eating too fast, eating on the run. Too many liquids with our meals. We need to be drinking half our body weight in ounces of water, but throughout the day, and not wait till we're lips are dry and we're dehydrated and then sucking down huge glasses of water before our meals. This is interfering with our digestive, our hydrochloric acid in our stomach. Of course, high sugar and refined foods, smoking, drugs. So how do we optimize it? We can do a little apple cider vinegar and water. That can be tough on your teeth. We can put lemon in water. If you have H. pylori, we mentioned earlier, we don't want to give you more stomach acid because it can cause it to burrow into the stomach wall more. We want to treat that first. And that's why I like to test. We can test or we can guess, but I like to treat the H. pylori first. That's often upstream. One of the major issues that we find contributing to all of these issues. Digestive bitters, eating Swedish bitters, you know, having a little cocktail of digestive bitters and water or soda water is a great way to get your digestive fluids moving. If you've had mold exposure or having trouble detoxifying, which is becoming very, very common, we need to get your digestion working. We need, bitters is a really good way. And then limiting the amount of liquid with meals. Don't go into a meal with feeling dehydrated. And chew. And deep breathing. I love the 4-7-8 breathing before, 3 to 4 times before a meal, just to calm down before we eat. I have a handout for that if anybody's interested. Just email me. Digestive enzymes are, they're proteins. They work as catalysts in the body. And as we age, we may have less enzymes, but we need strong stomach acid to secrete our enzymes. And again, we need them for digestion, to break down our food, to break down the lipase, amylase, protease for proteins, fats, and carbs. They're often missing in our food. They're killed by cooking and they're killed by pasteurization. And this is why raw vegan can be effective to jumpstart your health. And many feel better for a short period of time if they try that. My daughter and I did that as part of her integrative cancer program, and I found great benefit in kickstarting or jumping your health. Not everybody can sustain it long term because every diet has its benefits and its limitations, and we're all different. If you feel full 2 to 4 hours after a meal, if you have bloating or flatulence, you have indigestive food, these are all signs of not having enough enzymes as well as hydrochloric acid. So where do we get enzymes? It's in our food. Papaya is a great way to get enzymes, and pineapple bromelain is a type of enzyme found in those. Figs, ginger, kiwi, asparagus, guava, cucumber. Raw foods, again, they have their own enzymes. Seeds and nuts, you may want to soak them first if they have a covering to get rid of the anti-nutrients on them. Cultured dairy products, cultured vegetables we talked about, garlic and sea vegetables. Garlic is a natural antifungal and antibacterial too, and it can help with a healthy balance of the microbiome. You can find them in supplements, both plant or synthetic, with or without hydrochloric acid. It depends what's going on in your individual stool, whether we start with that or not. And you can use them long-term, and the older you get, you may want to take more, and you want to take them in the middle or the end of the meal so that you let your body get used to producing its own, and it's just supplemental as a supplement. So So maximizing those digestive juices are key. Eat only till you're 80% full. Limit liquids with meals. Dilute the digestive enzymes. They hinder digestion and drink between meals. So eating hygiene. Again, we have to chew, we have to smell, we have to savor our food. That gets everything working. It helps ease and make the rest of the GI system work better. Try counting your chews instead of gulping the food down. Slow down when you're eating. Savor it, enjoy it, give thanks, gratitude. Think about where this food came from. Be grateful of what it's going to do for your body. Now let's talk about the scoop on poop. It is how we eliminate our waste and our toxins. We can get even rid of the most toxic elements like mercury in our body through our poop. In my book, I wrote about a study with rats. One set of rats were given antibiotics that damaged the GI tract. The other had an intact GI tract. And then they were both given mercury. The rats that had the intact GI lining, less than 1% was within their brain and tissues. The other rats had like 90% mercury throughout their body. So we need that. Poop is where we eliminate our toxins. If it takes too long, you have constipation, then our toxins are reabsorbed in the bloodstream. If it's too short, you're not absorbing your nutrients. So a healthy microbiome, a healthy gut, you will usually poop 2 to 3 times a day, at least once, 2 to 3 times a day. What does it look like? This is a stool chart. You can look at it and see what's it telling you. If it's too hard or it's round little balls like this, it's more like constipation. Type 4 here is ideal. Smooth, soft, easy. You get the urge, you go, you wipe, no fuss, no mess. You don't need to spend 20 minutes in the bathroom. If you do, you've got gas, you've got bloating, then we need to do something about that. Not too light, not too dark, well-formed, smooth edges, easy, and it shouldn't stink. If it stinks, we got to think about what we're putting in. If it smells so bad. Our digestion takes a lot of energy. If we're eating 12 hours a day, we don't have much energy to do what we really need and want to do in our lives. So we need time to clean house, to regenerate. We need to stop eating at least 3 hours before bed and try to keep 5 hours between our meals. I have a whole program on intermittent fasting, and intermittent fasting can start to help people safely learn about intermittent fasting and how to get healthy. But we need at least 12 hours to start between the last meal of the day and the first meal of the next day to have our bodies clean up rogue cancer cells, to have the enzymes breaking up the viruses and bacteria in the digest our food. If we're eating all the time, we have no energy. So how do we optimize digestion? We make sure to eliminate at least once a day, consume liquids between meals, chew, eat mindfully, don't eat before bed. Be judicious with your medications and look at the side effects and look at what those medications are depleting your body of. You can go to mytavern.com and put in the medication and you can see for yourself. Follow a healthy diet, avoid the standard American diet. So I want you to think, what are some things that you can do after listening to this? And you might want to listen to this more than once, take some notes. What can you do today, right now, to improve your digestion, to balance your immune system, to make sure that you are taking control of your health? Please send me an email at ljackson@CarpeDiemWellness. I would love to hear from you. If I can help you or support you, I'd be honored to do that too. Carpe diem. Have a fabulous day.